Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7 update 1.44. It's that time of the update where I cover all of the new events that came alongside this latest update to Gran Turismo 7, and this time around it is a lot more positive than what I could say about both update 1.42 and 1.43. They were absolutely diabolical, but this is definitely a step in the right direction. However, it is a shame that we are still limited to only 3 events with this update, but overall the quality of these events alone are much better than what we saw with those previous updates. So let's start off with event number 1 of the 3. This is the European Clubman Cup 600. Now, if you can't tell already, this is aimed at using the Lamborghini Urus here, obviously aiming to its PP limit. Now, in terms of the race itself, it's 4 laps, 20 vehicles, 50,000 credits for first place without the clean race bonus, and overall it's on a much more suited layout with Blue Moon Speedway Infield A reverse. This is a shorter layout, and to be totally honest, it much more suits these vehicles than what we saw with Suzuka, which is just a little bit too long in length to make the race really that thrilling. In terms of the entire sprint race feel to this race, I feel like it honestly does suit it. With 20 cars on such a smaller layout and a smaller track, it really does feel like you are constantly in competition with the cars around you, certainly on the higher difficulties. So my Urus here is built up to around about 600 pp, if a touch over. Obviously the PP limit for this isn't set in stone, so you can go way above that, but I just wouldn't recommend it. I'd recommend hitting that 600 limit and you'll probably have some really enjoyable battles throughout the race. Now, there is a couple of notorious AI. One that I did mention with the previous update is the Alfa Romeo Giulia driven by Gallo. That thing is extremely fast to say it's built around 600 pp, and will be the car that once again will be working its way through the pack entirely and eventually be out in the lead towards the end. Nothing can really stop that car in a straight line. It is definitely the highlight in terms of the race itself, because you are constantly trying to catch up and battle this very skittish Alfa Romeo. It's absolutely fantastic. As you can see, he's just in front of me there, going into the right-hander as we try and get a move done on the outside of this Ferrari Testarossa there. In terms of the other AI to watch, there is a Lamborghini Countach and a Lamborghini Urus that is typically out in front, as well as a Mercedes as well. However, sometimes that will be caught mid-pack and unable to make the moves because it lacks the absolute top end that we see with that absolutely beautiful Alfa Romeo. As you can see, we're still trying to work our way through the pack and almost try and get that move done on the Alfa nice and early. That way we can do a bit of a rolling roadblock if we need to, as we know that thing is absolutely going to shoot off in the straights. As you can see here, it absolutely goes, flying past the Mercedes that may give you some trouble if it does get towards the front of the grid, but it is no match for that Alfa. That thing is a serious bit of kit. Now, as you can see, there's a TVR up here and the Lamborghini Moira. Now, in terms of those pair, they're not too difficult to get past. The Lamborghini can be a little bit skittish, so if you're going for the clean race bonus, just be aware of that car, that when you go for the overtake, if you catch it on a corner, there is a chance it may go off. As you can see, Gallo did eventually go off, and that was our move done on the Alfa. Now we have to get past 2 Lamborghinis up front, so the other Urus and the Lamborghini Countach, which does typically sit out front right until the last part of this race. As mentioned, that Alfa Romeo will definitely get past them come the end of the finish line. Overall, this was a much better race than what we saw with the previous updates. The layout really does suit these 600 built cars, and in terms of the AI, they are fantastic for putting a challenge as long as you're building your car to around that 600 pp limit. And honestly, shout out to that Alfa Romeo. That thing is seriously quick and a serious bit of competition. It is nice to have a car battling alongside and also working its way through the pack with you. As you can see, total time was 5 minutes 13.751. Fastest lap by ourselves was a 1 minute 16.3. In terms of the payout with the clean race bonus, it's 75,000 credits. Not too bad for a 5-minute event. Whilst it is a shame it is such a short event overall, I did find this to be a very enjoyable event. I honestly think if you're building to that 600 limit, you're going to find some great competition here, and it's more highlighted on a circuit like this where both speed as well as the low speed corners all come into play. I think this is a fantastic layout for these cars. I think the Urus itself sits really nice and comfortably in that 600 limit, and and definitely with a few tunes you can get this more track based than what the standard version will give you. Overall, a really enjoyable time and a much improved event from anything that we've seen over the last few months since update 1.40. Now, one of my favourite long-running events in terms of Gran Turismo history is the Schwarzwald League, and we finally do have a new race for it, this being the 4th one in its collection. This takes us to high speed ring reverse, 16 AI, 5 laps, 700 PP limit, and your car obviously must be from Germany. Overall, this is probably the weakest event of the bunch, but that's really by no means a bad thing. This is still a very enjoyable event, made even better by the obvious inclusion of the Audi R8 V10 Plus, which this event is basically catering for. Now obviously with a 700 limit we are building right up to that 700 PP limit. Unfortunately the Audi felt very quick, almost too quick for the rest of the cars on grid, so it did feel slightly unbalanced in comparison to what we saw before with the Lamborghini Urus in its main catered event. However, the track and track layout here, that is high speed ring reverse, really does aim to kind of go for the strong points of the Audi R8. I feel like it really does cater towards all of the strengths of this vehicle. This car really took me by surprise. Not only is it insanely quick in a straight line, it has a very enjoyable handling experience, which is kind of what you usually get with a bit of a draw off. If you've got good top end, you'll typically find that the car's handling is just a little bit off. It really felt for that a road car, this was a perfect all-rounder. It really did make the car feel like a fantastic addition, certainly when it's built up towards a 700 PP limit, which we see in place for this event. In terms of the AI, unfortunately they are very easy because this car is very overpowered. By no means is this a bad event, but it definitely feels like the weakest one of the bunch. Now 5 laps definitely makes the event feel like it outstays its welcome. As you can see, I'm running this on the hardest difficulty and I was basically fully past everyone come the middle of lap 3, which really kind of took away from the overall experience. Maybe even if they nerfed it to around about 4 laps like the previous event, it definitely would have suited the more road car track day going vibe that we typically see with the Schwarzwald League. Obviously aiming towards German vehicles, it really does feel like a German supercar track day, and I just feel like that extra 5th lap just kind of takes away from the overall experience and means that it doesn't feel like the race is as close for as long as possible. I definitely feel like it just overstayed its welcome for that final lap, but overall this was still a very enjoyable event using this brand new Audi R8 V10 Plus. Overall a very easy event to get completed, and I certainly feel like this is not only the weakest event of the 3, it is definitely the easiest event of the 3 as well. 6 minute 3 seconds .452 to get this one completed, a fastest lap on lap 4 of a 1 minute 11.508, so very quick laps once again, and the compact and shorter layout definitely caters towards the 16 car grid, meaning that there always feels like there's something to do in the early stages of this event. In terms of the payout, we didn't get the clean race bonus, unfortunately, due to a bit of a contact with one of the Mercedes on the, I believe, 2nd or 3rd lap. However, you will be looking at around about 100k with that clean race bonus added on there. So in terms of the payout for this event, it's not too bad. Around about 100k for 5 to 6 minutes work really isn't bad at all, meaning that if you want to rinse and repeat this one, you're looking at around about 1,000,000 credits an hour, but to be totally honest, it feels a little bit checklisty. However, the Schwarzwald League is one of my favourite long-running Gran Turismo leagues in Gran Turismo history, so it's great to see it finally get that 4th event added when I feel like it's certainly not had enough of those over time. Again, maybe it's just me because of the amount of hours I put into Gran Turismo 7. Maybe for someone that plays it on a casual basis, this might be more enjoyable and they might be able to spread out that 5 laps, but I feel like 4 laps would have certainly been the sweet spot for this event. Overall, enjoyable, but definitely the weakest of the 3, but in terms of payout, not too bad at all. Now it's time for the main event of the bunch. The WTC 900 finally gets a race at Le Mans. This is the event we've all been waiting for. 10 laps of Le Mans, 20 cars on grid, 900 PP or less, 400,000 credits for the payout, a little bit on the lower side, but overall this is a fantastic event that highlights the best of Gran Turismo. The main rivals are going to be the kind of Group 2 vehicles that we do typically see in the other WTC events. However, this time it's made even more special by the return of the Toyota GT1, which will also be out on track with us. In this race, it is built up of plenty of beautiful machinery from Group 2, all the way from the 08 NSXs, all the way to the McLaren Longtails, the Mercedes, and now obviously the Toyota. This is a visually stunning race that takes place from the morning all the way through the day, all the way to the night time as well. It also has the fantastic feature of actually having variable weather. It seems much more randomized in this event than what we typically see with the Le Mans 700, which is very much set in its ways. While still randomized, it's still very predictable. This time around I did get a clean run. It didn't end up raining, it didn't end up coming down on me or catching me out or the AI out. However, it did threaten it, so it does seem to be that the randomized weather is here, very much like another one of my favourites, which is the High Speed Ring 20 lap event. So I'm obviously going to be taking the new Toyota for a spin out here. In terms of my overall strategy, it was just a case of running fuel mix 1 for 2 laps, then a lap of fuel mix 3, and then another lap of fuel mix 1, doing a 2-stopper. So I do 2 sets of medium runs, followed by a short sprint at the end on these softs, and a flat out fuel mix 1 run until the end. All the time I'm monitoring the weather radar just to ensure that the rain isn't coming in. Again, if it does come in, just kind of get that covered off, ensure that you've got all tyre compounds at your disposal. In terms of the mediums with my Toyota, I did notice that they were burning out pretty much by the end of lap 4. At that point the car was getting skittish. I was running a low downforce setup, so ensuring that the car is as fast as possible in a straight line at Le Mans is crucial. In terms of our first pit stop, we are going to end up actually picking up a second penalty just due to that little line cut there. Now obviously this is where the strategy comes in. I know a bunch of the other cars are going to be in alternate strategies. Some are going to be doing long runs, some are going to be doing really short sprinty runs. Now here we're in the category of trying to do this in a 2-stopper. So what we're going to do is put a new set of mediums on because they are pretty much burnt out, especially that rear left really giving us troubles and getting skittish, obviously with the low downforce setup. We're then going to fill the car to full and get ourselves back out on track to do another rinse and repeat run, where we'll run 2 laps at fuel mix 1, 1 at fuel mix 3 and fuel mix 6 if we need to, and then 1 very quick sprint lap all the way till the end of lap 8, at which point we'll then box in and go for a full sprint to the end. Very much like the Alfa Romeo from the 600pp event, there is a Toyota that is going to be working its way from the back of the grid all the way to the front and eventually start pulling out a very big lead. That is going to be the main car we're watching out for, again just monitoring what it's doing in terms of its strategy and in terms of its pit stops. For me, it did pit at the end of lap 7. I'm not sure if it's going to be randomized where it might go on alternate strats or if that strategy is set in stone. I'm assuming it would change up depending if we got weather and such like that, but for a dry run the Toyota definitely pitted at the end of lap 7, with us pitting a lap later and going on for a different strategy. So as you can see here, we're just kind of battling away, getting ourselves back through the grid after dropping a few positions. The Toyota up in front is then going to box in. I believe at the point of it pitting it did have around about a 24-second lead, so it's time to turn the engine back up, go for a sprint, finish lap 8 and then do our short stop. Now in terms of this pit stop, we're going to go for the racing softs. There doesn't seem to be any weather coming in on the radar, so we're going to go for a full sprint. Once again, that back left on the mediums has definitely took a hit and is getting a little bit too unstable to be comfortable for doing any more than around about 4 or 5 laps top. Now obviously we're keeping an eye on Yura there, who obviously is in the Toyota and is working their way through the grid, and obviously our time is going to be going down and down. However, this is going to be a short and sweet quick pit stop. So we're going to get the racing soft set on the car, and we're also going to fill the car to just above the notch. I recommend around about 2.5 laps if you're going for a full blown sprint, around about 2 laps to go. So we're going to take 2.6 laps of fuel and that is it. We're going to go flat out to the end, and we've only lost really 10 seconds. In terms of catching up, we got up to them on the final lap. We tried to go for a bit of a move down the outside. It didn't pay off, and unfortunately that is going to lose us our clean race bonus. At this point we've dropped another 1.6 seconds, but by the time we get back in the slipstream, we're able to get this move done before the final right-hander here, which can cause us a lot of trouble and is a very heavy braking zone at these ridiculous speeds. Eventually we're going to pull out a 5-second gap to the Toyota behind us and take the win at Le Mans. Overall, this was a very enjoyable and fantastic event. Now, obviously, you don't have to use a Group 2 here, but I did it in 36 minutes, 47.488 seconds, a fastest lap of 3 minute 30, which was set on our final lap there. 400,000 credits for the payout, obviously losing the clear race bonus just due to that little off when battling with that Toyota on the last lap. But overall, I would say this is one of the stronger events in the game. For me, it's right up there with the 20 laps at High Speed Ring, as well as the 30 minutes at Road Atlanta as well. Obviously, it doesn't really hit the payout of the typical 4 events, but it does seem like a nice alternative to get some credits whilst also having genuinely enjoyable fun in a race. This is definitely one of the better events that we've ever seen post-launch. Whilst credits aren't really an issue for me, I do own all the cars in the game, multiple different variations and builds of each car. It really isn't something for me to be too worried about the payout, but if you are, in all honesty, this could be a great breakup race where it kind of breaks up the monotony of the grind. Whilst it doesn't pay out as much, it is certainly a very enjoyable event with all the great things there that make GT7 longer races much better. You've got variable weather, time of day from morning to the evening. You've got a great scene with Group 2 vehicles absolutely hammering around Le Mans. This race really does feel like it has it all, and it's made better by the inclusion of the Toyota GT1. So there we have it. The events from update 1.44 are fully here, and to be honest, they are a much better selection of events. Unfortunately, it is still only 3 events, but I certainly feel that the quality of them is definitely a step in the right direction, especially the WTC 900, which just feels like it has absolutely everything. Unfortunately, I feel a lot of people are going to be turned away from that one just due to the payout, but for someone like me that pretty much has everything in game, this is a fantastic event to just run for the pure and sheer enjoyment of having a faster race finally at Le Mans after over 2 years. Big thank you to all of my channel members. Let me know what you think of these events down below, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.